Well, good evening, everybody. Hope you've had a fantastic couple days. It's been, well, as you can see, a little cloudy, a little rainy. You know, typical spring in Kelowna, I guess. So I've done a whole lot of as little as possible this weekend because I actually wasn't feeling the greatest on Friday there. And I was really busy, and just didn't get any sleep. Got worse, so I just kind of hung out at home. Actually enjoyed watching some TV shows. Haven't done that in quite some time. But while I've been sitting around kind of wondering what I was going to do next, I got thinking about, how I've been thinking about getting an electric car. But what was it that made me buy the Cadillac in the first place? Because I could have got an electric car last year when I bought this, but I went with this for a reason. And I know the reason. I just can't remember it right now. I think a lot of that has to do with I was comparing it to the Mercedes that I had at the time. This is a 2-liter 4-cylinder. The Mercedes I had was a 6.2-liter V8. So there's a huge difference in fuel consumption. I know that was big. Oh yeah, that's right. This has warranty. No, it's a comfortable car. It's designed and built on a very capable platform with change a few panels around and you end up with essentially a Camaro underneath. This is based off of General Motors Alpha 2 platform, which is the Camaro, the SS. There was something else that was based on that. So very capable. It's not, in this particular variation, it's obviously not the sports car. This is the luxury car. And that was part of what I wanted because I'm a little bit of a bigger guy, obviously. And from time to time, I got a coffee cup under the seat. Yeah, so there's a big back seat. I mean, I actually fit back there. I wouldn't want to do it for a long road trip if I was sitting behind myself. But, there's tons of room. It's very comfortable. It's a very capable platform. It has a very decent warranty. And of course it's getting windy as I'm standing here talking to you guys. The all-wheel drive system, it leaves a little bit to be desired. I mean, it is, technically speaking, a rear bias car. Meaning, when I open the hood here, I can show you. Right. So, like I was saying, this is a rear-wheel drive bias system. And, the biggest difference between this and most all-wheel drive vehicles these days is the engine goes this way instead of this way. There's a lot of weirdness going on in that turbo. No idea what that's all about. While we're under here, let me point out a few things that I don't like at all about this car. Number 1. Washer fluid goes there. How? Not the easiest thing in the world. 2, the jump start post. Well, here's your positive. They have no factory assigned negative for jump starting. Right? Usually there's a big old tab that sticks off the engine or there's a big arrow pointing to something like that. This car doesn't have it. I did actually find one, but I was looking for it because I had to boost the car. Now, I'm going to block the wind a bit here. So, you can't see it. You can't see it. But if you stand right here, you can just barely see it. So now I'm going to get a different angle, and we're going to get right down in here, and there's your negative jump start post. No indicators, no nothing. Not a big fan of that. Not the biggest thing in the world, but still. At least it has hood struts, and it's painted underneath. But, I mean, all aluminum, 4-cylinder, fancy, what do they call it, twin scroll turbocharger. It's very dirty under here, mostly because I've never actually cleaned under the hood. On to the next couple of things that I really don't like, but I do like a few kind of aspects of. So firstly, we've got a very large trunk. Sort of. And I say sort of because all this stuff eats up a ton of space back here. Oh yeah, I've got a tripod back here now. Alright, and the battery is here. There's nothing under this stuff. Actually, there is something. I can't remember what it is. Oh yeah, nothing. Block heater cord, stuff like that. So we're gonna jump into the driver's seat here and we'll go over the rest. Okay, so size-wise, I fit very well in this car. It's very comfortable. I've got plenty of visibility, except for, well, right there. When it comes time to making a left lane change, like changing over to the left, I tend to have to do that to do a shoulder check rather than just that. I think that's a price you pay when you're 6 foot or taller. Another big thing, I really like the dual sunroof, even though I've never actually opened them. Come to think of it, I don't know if the back one opens or if it's just the front that opens. Not a big deal. The only reason I have a sunroof is because I think all of these have sunroofs, so it'll never get opened. I really like the infotainment. We'll try to fire it up here.
The house because it costs $300.
Copyright music playing. Anyways, I like the infotainment. It's fairly responsive. It's got all that you need: Android Auto, Apple CarPlay. Can change a bunch of stuff. Navigation, obviously. I've used that quite a bit since I've moved out here. And then the gauges. Can I turn them on without actually starting the car? Yes, we can. No, we can't. Maybe? Fine, we'll start the car. I didn't want to, but... So, gauges. Very simple. Speed, tack, warning lights in the middle. This tells you all sorts of cool stuff. I'm almost out of fuel again. Alright. Lots of controls here. We've got heated steering wheel, all the buttons, but the steering wheel is the right size, right? It's girthy enough where there's plenty to grab, doesn't feel weak. I will admit I'm not a fan of blank buttons, right? It is what it is. My biggest pet peeve with modern cars is this stupid system right here. The auto stop. No. Just no. It is absolutely useless if you're in traffic, because you're constantly starting and stopping and starting and stopping and starting and stopping and starting and stopping. And I'm just going to cycle that over and over again. But no, it's pointless. All I can think of it doing is wearing the starter out faster, draining your battery, which kills it faster. And around here, when the lights go green, everybody floors it. There's no double check. It's green, they're going. So if you're slow off the line, or say when you let your foot off the brake and then the engine has to start, the guys behind you, they're not paying attention. Almost been hit a few times. So I turned that off. I also tend to turn the lane keep assist off in this car. I don't know if that's the programming on the car or just the layout of the roads and the lines not being very visible to the cameras, but I find that it just does its own thing whenever it wants to, and it's kind of terrifying sometimes. So that gets left off. I mean, out on the prairies, I'm sure it works great, right? You're just cruising around when you got all these dual turning lanes and twisty mountain roads where the lines aren't very well painted. Doesn't work that great. The automatic high beams. There's another feature that in theory works great. Out here, doesn't work at all. Elevation changes, like if a car is coming at you and they're pointing slightly upwards, you're going to have your high beams on blinding them, and your car's not going to know any better. So I tend to not use those. Again, out on the prairies, I'm sure it would work just fine. Manual mode with the paddles, I love doing that around town, just because it makes it more fun to drive. And it's interesting when you kind of climb through the gears, take off from a light, and then it's second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth, and you're doing like 1,000 RPM at no speed. It's ridiculous. But again, that's why it's good on fuel. Other little drawbacks. No little cubby for sunglasses. So the only place I've found is down here next to the wireless charger. So if these slide over, your wireless charger doesn't work. In here, well, down in here, there's a bunch of, there's a USB, a USB-C, and a 5-volt outlet. Not a 12-volt, a 5-volt. And other features. Well, it's got the auto up on all 4 windows, but nothing really going on any of the other door panels. We got memory seating, power mirrors, obviously. The heads-up display, I don't know. You can kind of see it there. Yeah. I don't know. It's kind of cool. I've kind of gotten used to it, and I tend to just look at my speed there rather than looking down at the gauge cluster, so that's kind of cool. But the big thing that made me buy the Cadillac over anything else at the time was, well, A, it was available. Yeah, available, right price, much, much better on fuel. Little bigger, so I fit better. The warranty, along with the included maintenance for the Cadillac's first 4 years, awesome, right? That was really the big things. I chose to buy the Mercedes because I followed my heart. I don't regret that. Well, I regret having bought it for what I didn't need it for, if that makes sense. I didn't need a 2-door sports car rear-wheel drive, 100%. What I needed was something like this, a 4-door all-wheel drive, get me to and from work kind of vehicle. So I can say I will one day have a sports car again of some kind, but for the time being, I'm going to kind of stick with the Cadillac. It's sort of okay. I mean, there's obviously something going wrong with it, but it's a car that's used, right? There's going to be little issues. It's frustrating that they couldn't fix it the first time I tried to get it looked at, but it's warranty, and I kind of explained how that works, so, well, we'll just wait until I can 100% take the technician and be like, here it is, this is the noise, fix it, right? Then we'll get it fixed. I've got time, the warranty is good and long, and I highly doubt that I'm going to end up stranded because of this. Well, who knows with a modern vehicle, right? Too many computers. So, that's the other kind of consideration I had when I was looking at electric vehicles. My Cadillac has a fair amount of electrical issues, not gonna lie. The navigation tends to forget where I am from time to time. The screen sometimes doesn't work. I've had the heads-up display be upside down. That was a really weird one. The stability control is notoriously bad in these. For little hiccups in the system trigger a check engine light, which causes all sorts of other things. I haven't had that problem, but these are all kind of ignorable, I'll say. Right? The car's still going to function as a car with a check engine light, whereas an electric vehicle, if there's a fault, it might not work at all because it's a safety concern, and then you're stranded. At least this thing, I imagine I could limp it all the way to the shop if I had to. If you break down an electric car, what do you do? Right? All right, so that's a lot of pros and a few cons for this vehicle. There's a few more things to consider when it comes to electric vehicles, or, well, any super modern vehicle. And by super modern, I mean basically 2016 and newer. They tend to have more computers than, well, cylinders in the engine for sure, and that can cause problems. And that's the biggest, well, one of the biggest reasons why I didn't jump on the electric vehicle bandwagon when I bought this. The other big reason was kind of the dealer support at the time for, well, the two that I was considering, and it just wasn't there. Infrastructure is still, it's growing, but it's not there yet for like longer distance drives. So these are all things that you need to consider. As far as the Cadillac goes, it's got its issues. They'll get fixed, and I'll just keep putting gas in it. So with that, I want to say thank you very much for coming along on today's little adventure. More of a kind of information and thought-provoking sort of content today. If you enjoyed that, please consider subscribing, and we will catch you on the next adventure.